I recently brought Ilya in to co-try a case with me that I had in downtown Los Angeles, where it started as I needed help bringing out the story of a son that lost his father and the ancillary damage around it. And it turned into us just bringing you in pro hoc, Viche, the third day of trial, to do all the damage as witnesses.
The fastest pro hoc I think I've ever even heard of. It got filed and approved in like 48 hours. It was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and the judge is like, why is this Arizona lawyer coming in here? I'm like, Judge, it's fine. She's a friend of the family. It'll be okay.
It worked out great. It was great to sit next to you.
And that's, I want to walk through that process first, because for me that was the most, I was handling a lot of the liability stuff almost for that entire trial, and then you came in to what I say is to bring on the emotion, bring the money, as I like to say. And whenever the decedent's mom came to testify, I mean, there was not a dry eye in the courtroom, and you could hear a pin drop. What's that process like?
It's a lot of time. I think the process of witness preparation, I think, is one of the undervalued skills of a lot of trial lawyers. But spending a lot of time with the client, which is important. I mean, time's important, but you also have to make use of the time. You have to dig in, get to know the background of your client. A lot of times I'll get brought in because someone will say, hey, I think my client's kind of hard to like. Mm-hmm. And when I've spent time with them, usually I'm able to dig up something about their past, something that makes them really interesting, something that sort of connects their story of their past to what happened to them. And, that's a process of, it is spending time, but it's also knowing where to push, where to ask questions. What happened in your background? What were you like as a kid? And I'll go way back, even if my client's 50 or 60 years old, 70, 80 years old, I'll go back to their childhood to try to, weave that story together.
Wow. And before today's episode, Mara's wife actually reached out to me to see if she could hire you to make Mara more likable.
That's nonsense.
I'm not a miracle worker.
Absolutely.
No.
I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Likability is one of the few things I could say that I have in spades.
Have you ever seen Mara try a case? It's very, he's exactly like he is right now in front of the jury, and it's hilarious.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Including the sleeping part.
He has slept in trial.
If I don't eat, now I just don't eat lunch. Because before I would eat lunch, and then I'd just be like...
Then the narcolepsy kicks in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now
there's pictures of him asleep at counsel's table.
Yeah,
wow.
now I just don't eat all day, and then I'm fine. But once I eat, I'm like a grizzly bear. I get very drowsy.
But kudos to you to be able to be the same person you are in front of the jury that you are in your everyday life.
A lot of lawyers can't do that. They turn into robots.
I think I did that for a time, sort of needing that approval. You kind of need to be the smartest person in the room to prove defense counsel that you know what you're doing. Yeah. And I think I had a lot of that as a young lawyer.
And you too, as a young female lawyer, you probably had a lot more you thought you had to prove in those situations.
Very much so. Very much so. And actually, it's funny because the best piece of advice I ever got from my father, who was a trial lawyer, he says, let everybody assume you're stupid. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no way. Like, I'm not about to do that, Dad. And he's like, no. He says, you're young, you're female. This was, of course, 25 years ago when I was young. You're female, you're Latina. Let them assume you're stupid. And when they're least prepared for it, you break out the goods.
Wow.
And it turned out to be the best advice I had my entire career.
Yeah, because you've had 8-figure verdicts right here in Arizona when people said, I think last year you had one that was over 10 million, and a lot of people say that just can't happen in Arizona.
Yeah.
They say it can't happen here, it's too conservative. They say it can't happen here. We don't even get peremptory challenges here. I don't know if you know that. You don't get peremptory challenges in Arizona.
Yeah, I remember I had a lot of discussions about that with Dordick when he was trying that case here, that med mal case that he got a $40-50 million verdict, like the biggest med mal verdict in the history of the state.
It's on appeals, yeah. I mean,
yeah, he tried that one, and he said, no peremptories, man, like the judge does it or something, right?
I believe their case was in federal court, so the judge does all of it. And Gary Dordick was the reason I was the second largest verdict in Arizona.
She had the title for a while.
Like a nanosecond. But I'm happy that it's happening because I was saying for years, it's not our juries. Like the way we prepare cases in Arizona, we have to scale up. We need better experts. We need higher caliber demonstratives. We need to put on the production. And when we put on the production and we let jurors really see the evidence and understand the evidence, I knew it would happen.
This goes into what you've been big on, which is letting people stay in their best lane for what they do. So like my limitation in that trial was just, I didn't have the time to dedicate to my clients to learn their story and put it on. And I didn't want to wing it. I would rather give up a percentage of our fee to bring in you to do that part of the story, and the client gets a much better result. And that's kind of the work that we've seen you do in the community in Arizona, and now just starting with Justice HQ in Arizona, is the ability to train all of these young lawyers, this army under you, this army, to try cases.
Yeah.
Right? And
I'm
that's
sure
the vision.
trying.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's the one thing, like you're saying, that you have to level up. Bob was one of Bob's firm, Simon Law Group in LA, especially on spine cases, starting 10, 15 years ago. They started really putting on the full dog and pony show that was usually reserved for catastrophic, 8-figure cases, right? And then Bob's firm started putting on the full everything, the best experts, the animations, the best everything on just like on a disc replacement or something.
Yep.
And it really did raise the level of everybody doing those cases, and it raised the value of those cases for settlement and everything. So Bob's firm
But it's crazy because
California
one
is
expert
really
had
good.
just testified for a partner of mine, and he texted me to say, it was Dr. Fox actually, and he was like,
Foxy's the
he's
best.
like, you guys are like the residency program of trial lawyers at your firm.
I love
He's
that.
like, I loved it. My
That's
wife was like, that should be a
great.
testimony because we train these lawyers to try these cases and to get the max value from it. And a lot of time it's splitting up the pie between other firms and putting on the full dog and pony show, right? But to tell the full story. So we were trying those cases when people were selling for $500,000-$600,000. We're like, we think these cases are worth a lot more. Let's just say 4 to 8 million. Let's just say 15 million and put on the show and see what happens. And then I had one verdict with light impact was $17 million. I had one that was, it was a fusion case, and $12 million.
And that
because
one,
we
I'll
were
tell you, the
storytelling.
17 million one, that's Bob's finest work
Oh, yeah,
because
that
it
was
was
my
a broken taillight.
Yeah.
Not even, I don't even think they broke the taillight.
No, they
They
did not
scratched
break
the
it up.
taillight.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, it
got
was a-
$17 million. That was your best stuff.
And
That's
paid.
impressive.
And paid.
Your best stuff. Against a trial lawyer on the defense side that had tried that case 500 times.
500. He was
I
actually
believe
the
it.
president of Aboda. He's
Yeah.
the president
So
of Aboda.
not he wasn't in with any babe in the woods. He was in with a tiger, and Bob hit him for
But
17
you know what?
million.
They didn't see me coming.
Nope, I guess not.
They didn't. They thought it was just, it was like my 7th, 8th trial, and it was just, he's hit a few here and there, but it can't happen again.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Well, I'll
that.
tell you, my dad gave me lots of different advice than your dad.
Oh, here we
That
go.
way. Anyone wants to hear about my dad's advice, just send me a message and we can have drinks. Because my dad was a straight Sicilian gangster, so it was a little different. But I've also benefited a lot from lots of people underestimating my intelligence, and they think that I'm just kind of like a crazy guy or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're like, "Oh wow, we just got fucked."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they don't know.
Turns out Mauro has a brain
yeah,
back there.
they don't know. It's good. It's good.
And
For
what you're
sure.
doing, what we're all doing, I think, goes to the moniker for our sponsor. So we have a sponsor for this episode, which is Even Up, and Even Up is rising the tides for all plaintiff lawyers to automate not only demands, medical records, chronologies with claims intelligence. So thank you for sponsoring this show, because I think it makes all of us better if we know everybody's results, we know how to get them, etc.